The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports. Welcome to the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. I'm Chris Brinkley. We're headed to the NCAA basketball tournament where Sunday the opponent will be North Carolina. Coach, first let's talk about the big selection show party that we had. Now, we've done this 4 years in a row, but I think this past one was probably the best ever.
I think it was the largest crowd, and I thought the Student Life Center was a great place to have it. It was kind of intimate yet kind of big. You got to be with all the fans, and the girls were signing a lot of autographs, and had a really, really good crowd.
And at the Student Life Center, interestingly enough, we were on a basketball court, the old alumni gym basketball court, I guess, and Miss Betty Giles was right there in the front row.
And it's so great to see Miss Betty. She's always down on that front row of the bleachers for us in games that she can get to. And she's been sitting down there talking to us after other games, and the legacy that she has going on here at UT Martin is arguably unparalleled anywhere in the country. And she's affected women's basketball here at UT Martin and across the country, but women's athletics probably overall across the country, and just the definition of a pioneer in athletics.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the reason we could be there with that many fans there talking about an NCAA tournament that's comparable to the men's tournament is because of ladies like her.
There's no question. And back in the 60s and the 70s, the push that she made and the sacrifices that she made are the things that allow us to do what we're doing today. And, when we're here in the room that's got all the memorabilia from a lot of the things that she's done. And I like keeping this here so that our student athletes that come through understand why they're getting to do what they're getting to do, because I like you to know where you've come from.
And I know that we're going to talk specifically about North Carolina, but it wasn't that far ago. You and I both know women who played 3-on-3 and who could not play college basketball because it was an intramural sport.
Well, Lynn Dunn came to practice yesterday to see us and was talking to us, and Lynn didn't even have the opportunity to play at all. And everybody says she's arguably one of the best players that ever didn't play here. And so, yeah, it hasn't been that long ago, and it's just amazing the changes that have happened, and the strides that have been made with people like Lynn Dunn and Pat Summit and Betty Giles and Nadine Guerin that have made the push for athletics on the women's side.
This summer we should organize a pickup game, and you can coach 3-on-3, because I would be interested to see what your strategies are.
As long as you gave me Lynn Dunn and Pat Summit on the same team, I'd feel pretty good.
Coach, let's talk about North Carolina. We find out that that's going to be your opponent. We had speculated on what seed you would be. You're a 13 seed this year.
And I think a 13 is a tremendous pat on the back to our kids for what they've been able to accomplish this year. But it's also a tribute to the Alicia Weatherly senior class, to Callie Couples, to Allie Wright, to those kids that were here that first year, because every piece has added to each other to get us where we are today. And, Taylor Hall, and then Rakisha and Shelby. So all those kids have sacrificed and done things to help us get where we are, and a 13 seed is the best that we've ever done. And it is the seed that you see some upsets in the NCAA tournament, and there have been 6 of those previously, and you hope after this year there's a 7th.
We had talked about this a little bit, but there was a time probably 4 years ago with people across the country, and even the committee might have said, who is UT Martin and what have they done? Most people know who UT Martin is when it comes to women's basketball now.
Well, I do think that the committee knows who we are, because they've been in that room, and 4 straight years you've had to put us somewhere. And what I think they've seen over those years is that if you looked at our resume those years, you go, okay, they're trying to do what they need to do to get a better seed, but we weren't doing it. And I think this year we've got 3 wins over top 100 teams, which we didn't have in our resume the previous years. So I think they're recognizing what we're trying to do, but ultimately you have to do it. You have to beat those teams. You can't just put them on your schedule. And this year's bunch was able to do that, and they got rewarded with a 13 seed. And your goal is to get down. I think what is the upset special in the men? The 12 is the one that it's all crazy. That I guess as a mid-major, your goal is to be an 11 or a 12 if you can get it. But that's tough. You have to have just about a flawless season to get that high. But out of all the teams in the country, somebody's going to get them, and you'd like to have them. But a 13 is definitely a step in the right direction for us. You
found out Monday night you'd play North Carolina, ranked number 12 in the AP Top 25, 13th in USA Today Coaches Poll. You've done a lot of research and know a lot more about North Carolina than you did Monday, although you knew a lot going into the selection show. What do we know about North Carolina?
Well, it's a very difficult matchup for us. They have been called one of the most athletic teams in the country. They have the #1 recruiting class in the freshman class this year. They've got 5 kids in the top 25 in the country, All-Americans. They have the #1 player in the country that's a freshman in DeShields. A very, very, very talented basketball team. Long, athletic, rangy. The challenge is which team, with their youth, which team shows up some nights. They've beaten Duke twice. They've beaten Maryland. They've beaten South Carolina. All those teams were parked in the top 10 most of all of the year. And then they've had losses to, Virginia Tech. And so, you don't really know which team is going to show up for you with their youth. But as far as talent goes, if they're clicking together and can put together a run here, they're one of the teams that's been projected to be a Final Four caliber team.
Right, even though they were a 4 seed.
Even though they're a 4 seed because of the talent level that they have. And as I've watched them, the range on this game is going to be much more than any game that we've played so far.
What do you mean by range?
Well, we knew that Notre Dame was going to play from here to here. We knew Tennessee was going to play from here to here. We knew that Duke was going to play from here to here. Well, North Carolina, they can play from here to here. And so
it's kind of like your team last year on a different level.
Very, very similar. And the challenge is, as I've watched film, there's no rhyme or reason to what makes that happen, which makes us feel very helpless as coaches because we're going, okay, well, it's not a zone, it's not a man, it's not doing this on offense, it's not guarding this way, it's not doing this. There is no rhyme or reason to why that happens, which is youth. And so I think that's the big question mark is the team that shows up for North Carolina. They are capable of beating anybody in the country on any given night. And that's the team that they're going to hope to put out on the floor. And especially with Coach Hatchell coming back from her battle with leukemia, you think they're going to have an extra little shot in the arm. They're on their home floor. That's another shot in the arm. And so those things they've done to position themselves to not go down.
Right.
So it'll be a battle of can those 2 little guards handle that pressure and make enough plays with the supporting cast around them to give ourselves a chance.
DeShields has got an enormous amount of press. She's averaging 18 points a game. The highlights I've seen from her, she's special. She's one of the top, athletically, she's one of the top players in the country.
Well, she's 6'2", and she plays the point, the off guard, small forward, power forward. She jumps center for them.
It sounds like LeBron.
She can do. She can do anything on the floor. I really, honestly, don't think she knows how good she could be. And I think that if she ever figures it out, that she'll be a name that goes down in the women's basketball history books as one of the best of all time. But she's got a lot of learning and work to do if that's what her goal is, and you never know. The problem is if you focus too much on her, there's 4 more All-Americans over there.
Right.
So you can't go crazy focusing on this one because any other time you'd be saying, well, we can't let that All-American just run around and do nothing. So, it's a very, very challenging team to play against, and especially if they get rolling and are kind of in their element and doing the things that they like to do.
And what you usually see at that level is a little bit more depth than you see at the mid-major level.
Yeah, they'll bring 2 All-Americans off the bench, and that is a huge challenge. And the way they play, very smart, is they try to play to that bench. They're going to try to get a shot up within 10 or 12 seconds every possession, and try to make you do the same thing, which is something that we like to do. The only difference is we're doing it with not quite as many All-Americans and not quite 6'3" and 6'2" and 6'2" and 6'1" and 6 foot. And so very different teams, and we're going to try to do things on both ends of the floor that will bother them. The only challenge is that we haven't seen any of it bother them consistently. And they have the ability to turn things up and make things wreak havoc for you on both ends of the floor.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back with more on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show.
At this time, we would like to thank our basketball corporate donors. Carey Insurance, Dynamix, Parker Hannafin, State Farm. Surgical Associates of Martin. Vance Institutional Pharmacy. Walmart.
Back on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. Coach, Heather Butler now named to the Final Five for the Nancy Lieberman Award, which will be announced, I think, during the men's Final Four. Another outstanding honor for Heather.
I mean, it seems like every week we pull out something from our senior class, from Heather Butler, Jasmine Newsom, that they've achieved something else. And to look at the names that are out there with her and the schools that they're from, just another phenomenal advertising for the University of Tennessee at Martin, free advertising. I mean, she's in the elite of the elite in the country, and that's another, our West Tennessee University, Martin, the university in general, is just reaping some more benefits from what these two kids and this senior class has been able to do for us.
Coach, I'm going to ask you a coaching question, and then we'll talk about plans for the team. I follow an NBA team who's really struggled this year, and they shuffled their starting lineup, and one of the writers in the newspaper said, what a novel idea. You start your best 5 players and you start winning games. And he was really taking a shot at the coach's starting lineup. But would there be an instance, or has there been a situation in your coaching career where you've not started your best 5 players?
A lot of years I didn't start my best 5, and it was because a lot of those years I've had kids that couldn't handle starting. They needed to sit down, see the game for 3 or 4 possessions, kind of get a sense of what it was like, and then go. And I've had people that were in my best 5 ask me not to start, and so it really, that's a cheap shot
from a reporter who's never coached.
Is clueless. Chemistry is something, very, very, very seldom are your best 5 going to be the 5 that clicks the best together all the time. You may have too many scorers out there, even though those are your best 5 players. Nobody rebounds. Nobody wants to set picks. Nobody wants to penetrate and kick. I mean, you never know. So I think that your best 5. Hopefully by the end of the year, your best 5 is playing together all the time. But whether they're starting or not, I don't think that really matters. But when you're losing and you do that and it works, you look really dumb as a coach. I mean, you do. I mean, why didn't you do that? You're their best players. Why didn't you play them earlier? Well, you probably ought to try starting with that one and then see what happens. And I guess the Knicks didn't do it.
That's the Knicks, right. And, I think it's interesting that coaches get blamed for a lot of things that really aren't necessarily their fault. And they may get credit for things that they necessarily didn't do also.
Well, yeah, we're overrated and we're underrated. And it's usually the reverse of whatever you think. Whenever you want to praise the coaches, it's probably they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Whenever you're wanting to penalize the players for something, it's probably the coach's fault. So just take. This North Carolina game is very interesting. I told the kids yesterday. I said, guys, I've got 3 scenarios for how we're going to play this game, and I'm not sure which one we're going to go with yet. I've got to live with it for 12 hours and see what I think. And I told them, I said, if we go with this one and we get beat, none of y'all are going to be responsible. I mean, it's all going to be on my shoulders.
Yeah.
If we do the other 2, they're going to be on your shoulders. Because it's going to be doing things that are totally, in y'all's wheelhouse, you'll know everything's going on. I said, but if I go with this crazy one, then if we get blasted, it'll all be on me, and I'll say that. I don't have a problem. No. If we do something stupid and it fails, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say, I'm dumb, and I pulled it and it didn't work. But the flip of that is this: if I do something smart that actually is the right thing to do, it's still not on me because they're the ones that have to make it work.
Right.
So that's when coaching is overrated. Even if the coach comes up with the perfect scheme, it makes no difference if the kids don't go out there and execute it. So if they go out there and execute it, well, who gets the pat on the back, the coach or the players? Well, ultimately it's the players, because if the coach comes up with I could make the exact wrong call in a game, and they can make it work.
Yeah.
And then I'll get patted on the back for the wrong call.
Yeah.
They'll be, Coach, that was great strategy. And I'm saying, well, that was the worst thing I could have done in this game.
Yeah.
But the players made it work. So
an example of that is in the OVC tournament when Charisma hits the 3-pointer at the end of the half. I mean, I gave you an enormous amount of credit. Now, you get credit for bringing her in the game, but she was not the first option. Plus, she had to make the shot.
She had to come off the bench cold. She had to be in the right spot. Jasmine had to make the right decision, the right read, get her the basketball, and she has to put a shot in. And I'm going to get credit for 5 of those things happening.
I gave you credit for it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But, I mean, literally, you gave me credit for this. You ready? Mm-hmm. Charisma, go get in. I mean, if you're going to give me credit for that,
but now,
I
Coach,
need a lot of credit for some subs in a game.
To my defense, if she doesn't come in the game, she can't hit that 3.
She can't, but somebody else may have been over
Right.
and they may have hit it.
Yeah.
But your point is true. Blame and patting on the back and everything, it's probably usually wrong. It really probably is. And a lot of times we put too much on players, and a lot of times we put too much on coaches. But it is what it is. And you just hope that you're making the right calls as a coach to give your team the best chance they've got of winning. I can't go in this North Carolina game and coach a D game or a C- game. No, I've got to coach an A to give our kids a chance so that they don't have to play an A+. If I can coach an A, maybe they can play a B+. Well, you're a lot more likely on a test to make a B+ than you are an A+.
Right.
So you want to give them as much room for error as you can. So I feel like if I don't make any mistakes the entire game coaching, not one, what I've done is allowed them the opportunity to make some mistakes and still be okay. The flip of that is if I coach a D game, I leave them no choice. They have to play an A+, because they have to overcome my ineptness. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Ineptness.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound
No, that's
Say
good.
that 5 times real fast. So that's what, going through as a coach, that's why I told them I've got 3 plans. And we're probably going to have to move back and forth between all 3 of them, because you can't just lock in on one thing with the top 12 team in the country. They'll get used to it and they'll do so. So we've got to make adjustments during the game. Well, I've got to know the right time to make which adjustment. When are you going to go from 1 to 2? How long are you going to stay with 2? When are you going to go back to? When are you going to go to 3? What about going back to 1? What happens if you have to sub and you got different players in? Well, 2's better with these players than 1 is. So all of that goes into us giving our kids the best chance that they have to go out there and do what they do best. And you also don't want to overload them mentally with all of that. They don't need to know all that. They just need to know we need to guard them, we need to get the ball down the floor, we need to make shots. And as long as they're focused on that, we can do all the other mess, and then it gives them the best chance to go play basketball.
I'm ready. Can we play right now? How does it all unfold? We'll fly out Friday. You play Sunday. What happens between Friday when you land in North Carolina and the game on Sunday?
Friday we'll land a little after 10, and we'll go check in the hotel and have some lunch there for the girls, and then we'll go practice around 2:30 in the. It's kind of ironic. We're practicing in the Smith Center, which is the big, huge arena, instead of the, what's the name of the other one? Carmichael. So we're going to practice there on Friday, and we'll go eat some dinner and go to sleep and let them sleep in as late as they can probably on Saturday. And then we've got a media, whatever you want to call it, media press conference / talk to the players, meet the players thing before we practice that afternoon at the Carmichael. On Saturday, and then we'll get them some dinner and get them into bed early, and then we'll wake up and shoot around and eat and get ready to play.
Okay, you excited?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's no better way to, and we're going to, one way or another, we're going to finish the career of our 4 seniors in the NCAA tournament. And I mean, what a better way could we have created a better ending to the storybook career of these 4 kids.
Right.
It's going to be in the NCAA tournament. Now, can we pull off an upset? Maybe. Can we pull off 2? Maybe. I don't know. But whatever it is, the last chapter in this part of their lives and this part of the legacy of UT Martin women's basketball will finish at the NCAA tournament. And I'm tremendously proud of those kids and what they've been able to accomplish and what they're continuing to do every day. As I was coming to this morning, I wake up and I get a text message from Megan checking with me because she's working right now and checking to make sure she can get here for practice on time and da-da-da-da. Drop my kid off, and Butler comes running to the car and gives us a hug. I get a message from Tabitha reminding me that she's got her internship and tomorrow's going to be a hectic day for her. And then as I'm walking down here, Jasmine's walking in with stuff that's going on for the tournament that she's doing in her job. So today, all 4 of our seniors are sending us stuff that's related to this, but it's kind of the next step in their lives that they're going to have to do. And I think they're doing that to just anyway, it's just we're tickled.
Can we watch that in super slow-mo?
Super slow-mo, but I think I went like this.
We'll end it on that note. It's the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. Thanks for watching.
The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports. Thank you for your support of UT Martin basketball.